Hello there, my name is Kyle, and this is my first woodworking out video. Today, I'm going to show you how I made these small parallette bars. There's a dozen ways you could go about making something like this, and I just wanted to share how I did it. For these, I used a piece of 2x8 from an old shelf I had lying around, along with a 1 1/4 inch oak dowel I bought from the hardware store. Oh, and some wood glue. The first thing I did was cut 4 4-inch pieces out of my 2x8. These will be the Parallettes' legs, sides, supports? Yeah, supports. I measured it out and clamped down my square as a guide. I have to add 1 1/4 inch to my measurements because of the circular saw's guide plate. After that, I went over to my chop saw and set it to 25 degrees and cut out the angles. You could experiment with any angle here. You could even leave them square, if you're a barbarian. Next, I measured the center of each hole. After cutting my angles, each piece is 6 7/8 inches wide, making the middle at 3 3/8. Then I measured up to 2 3/4 inches, and then I got my center. I will do this for each support. I clamped 2 pieces of 2x4 to hold the supports in place while drilling the holes. I used my 1/4 inch bit to create a guide hole for the larger bit. As you can see, I've used tape as a depth guide to mark where I want to stop drilling since I don't want the hole to go all the way through. I don't currently have a drill press, so sometimes I use this jig that I made with extra scrap wood. This is more useful when using smaller bits that tend to veer off in random directions. Next, I use my 1 1/4 inch bit to drill the larger holes. Again, you can see the electrical tape to help me get to the correct depth. I went back over to my chop saw to cut my dowel into 2 9-inch pieces for the handles. Easy peasy. This next part is entirely optional. I sanded down each support with progressively finer sandpaper, 80 grit, 220, and then 320 to get them silky smooth. Talk about a wood-related workout. I rounded some of the edges, but you can leave them as they are. Another optional step I did was apply some mineral oil used for cutting boards. This helps to keep moisture out of the wood and give them some protection. I like the way this looks. Time for some glue. I put quite a bit of glue at the bottom of each hole and not much around the sides. I didn't want any seepage, and so far this has worked for me. I then banged these into place. I used a hammer and a chunk of 2x4 to prevent damage. You could use a rubber mallet, a heavy piece of wood, or even a rock, you barbarian. I've had issues with other builds where the bottoms weren't exactly flat. So I'm trying this out. I clamped 2 pieces of wood on either side to try to keep things straight. Spoiler alert, they still didn't come out completely level. I'm gonna let these dry overnight. See you tomorrow. After drying, they're basically done. You can throw them down and give them a test run. I've tried these non-slip adhesive pads for the bottom, but so far they haven't stayed on very well. As long as you use the Parallettes on a carpet or a mat, the wide base should prevent slipping. If anyone has any thoughts or ideas to help slipping, go ahead and comment a comment down in the comments. As you can imagine, these Parallettes aren't very complicated to use, but I wanted to show a few examples of what I do with mine. What I really like about them is the ability to change both the angle and the position of each one. This allows for a lot of variety. There are a ton of workouts you can find on YouTube, or even make up your own. Whee! Here are some other versions I've made using similar techniques. I like the larger ones for practicing L-sits and fending off barbarians. Here you can see some of my initial prototypes. I also like these because they are taller and allow for deeper push-ups, especially if you elevate your legs on a box or chair. Well, that's how I made some small Parallettes. Maybe you learned something new? Maybe I endangered my hands? Maybe I offended a handful of barbarians. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this little build walkthrough.